Hello, everybody. I hope you're having an awesome day or night, wherever you are. As you can clearly see, I am not on the right screen, so let me sort this out. This is beautiful. That is the wrong screen. Let's just jump into it. We're doing so good. We
Best laid plans.
as prophesized, setting up the stream with my amazing guest, Joyboy Theories, has been quite an interesting scuffed experience. And there you go. I tried to hide it for the stream, but I couldn't. But you know, it's meant to be. So thank you for being here, Joyboy, and making me feel more calm in this very scuffed circumstance. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to be here. It's just crazy. You started YouTube, I'm pretty sure, before I did. And I've known of you for, man, time flies. I think is it 8 years? Possibly 9. And our paths have never crossed in all this time. And be able to sit here and just have a conversation with you about stuff is really cool. So I'm excited for it.
Thank you. It is crazy to think that it's been that long. And like you said, our paths haven't crossed. But, you know, when I was on here, you know, getting into doing theories and fun videos and stuff, yeah, you just jumped on and you took off. And so, you know, I've always held you in high regard. So when I reached out to you after this many years, it was like, hey, you know, I'm this guy. You do want to hop on the stream? Be like, oh yeah, I know you. I was so shocked. I was like surprised, shocked, excited. I was like, oh my God, nobody really tends to know how things were back then, or like that I did stuff back then, because I mean I was off YouTube for like 3 or 4 years. So but since that time, it's like the new pirate era. Like a whole bunch of new creators came in and have just kind of, you know, filled up the community, which has been very exciting though. It's been a very, very exciting time.
Well, you know, honestly, I was jealous because you've always had such great production, particularly like thumbnails and stuff like that. So I would take notes, you know?
I was gonna say, very, very great production. And as I can see in the chat, Dax Sake, Hype Hunter to me last month, hey, I figured out this whole streaming thing. Let's do a stream. Doing me so dirty. Yeah, but yeah, okay. So thumbnails, I can be happy with thumbnails. I mean, yeah, streaming thing, I'm still learning it. But again, so gracious to be on here. I really do appreciate you being here. So I do have notes. I am prepared, believe it or not. Okay, here we go. So I'd love to go on here, just like your journey on YouTube, because, you know, from then on to now, I was off for 3 years, but you just continued pushing on. I'd love to go and hear your thoughts throughout all these years about how the community has changed, and what your thoughts are, and currently where you are at the moment.
Yeah, when I started, it was a totally different atmosphere. I mean, we could talk about this for a really long time because it's interesting. Honestly, it's a whole story unto itself. But I started off first on forums because I talk a lot. I probably talk too much. You know, it gets me into trouble, but I share my thoughts easily. So, you know, it starts off on the forums just doing theories, discussing things with people. And quite frankly, it's kind of like getting thrown into the fire because there's One Piece fans that have been there since day one. And they are very knowledgeable, and you know, I kind of just learned from all those people while you know, forming my own thoughts as well. But there was a lot of drama as well back in the day with theory theft and you know, like websites that would accumulate forum theories, you know, just one place, one stop shop. I think it was like One Piece Love or something like that. And so I was just writing these for fun. You know, I didn't really benefit from it other than that I enjoyed it. But you know, you see these things basically copied and put onto YouTube, and it's like, well, if it's going to happen anyway, I might as well do it myself. So I just did it, you know. And the first videos that I made, particularly back in 2016, I don't think people that are new to the community would understand how bad all of that was. It was really low quality. First, it was the slideshow stuff, and I was actually pretty good at that. But there was like a transition period to speaking, and I remember you were one of the first people that did that as well, along with me. It wasn't just text on the screen when talking, you know, theories and such like that. So so yeah, that was a whole learning curve. All that stuff in the beginning, void century, you know,
Yeah,
unlisted. It was really bad.
For sure.
You know, I always felt like I could give something to the community. I felt that way, arrogant or not. I just there's a certain process of which I think about things, and I like to make arguments for it. I got a
Hmm.
little debater in me, um, and it really worked when I started my channel. But it isn't crazy. It's about the evolution of it. I mean, just over time, it was Alpha Too Late, I think, was the big one back in the day. But since then, I mean, just incredibly talented people joining in. And I think the biggest thing that holds most people up is that they just don't continue to do it. Kind of like,
Hmm.
you took your break or whatever. But that's
Yeah.
that's pretty much commonly what happens. But throughout the years, just more and more people, this has just become a job for them. And
Hmm.
they're, I'm just sitting here quite honestly in awe. Like Parvision, man, that dude is so
Yeah.
talented.
Yeah.
Randy Troy, we just talked about him, potentially being a writer for the One Piece live action season 2. Rogers Base has always been an incredible entertainer. King of Lightning is hilarious. I mean, you could go through the list. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't literally
Uh-huh.
list
All these
everybody.
people, yeah, all
But
the
we,
people that you're mentioning, yeah, are all the, the ones I hold in the highest regard, because those are the people that I would look up to, and also just the people that inspired me to actually do content. Like I would watch, like, King of Lightning's reactions and stuff, and I'd be loving that and be like, oh, I mean, when I read the chapters, I get excited and I want to share that and speak to people about it. So that would inspire me. And yeah, it's just all those people I just hold so highly.
but we all appeal in different ways, and I kind of enjoy that.
Mm.
There's a part of me, and I think a part of everyone that's like, I want to become the king of the One Piece YouTubers.
Mm. Yeah.
But at the same time, we all offer like different things, and I like to see that from time to time, and just get a feel for like how you can take the same experience or information, and then it's translated in totally different ways. Um, so yeah, that's really really cool to me, quite honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned before about the whole like the theory theft, and that was like a massive thing. I believe on the web was one of the websites like Oro Jackson. I think it was one of those ones. I
Yep,
did a
Oral
bunch of
Jackson was
theory.
on the forums.
Yeah,
Yeah, huh? Oral Jackson. Yep.
yeah,
Rest
yeah,
in
and
peace.
yeah, and like that was the big thing. It was like because there was not many people in the community, it was very small. When one person came out like on a forum with something really massive, people would just kind of take it, and it was a very big problem. Uh, when I was doing like you talk about kind of taking inspiration and kind of looking at people and jumping on YouTube. A big thing with me is I was looking at a lot of these slideshows or these other sorts of videos, and I mean, not like in an arrogant way. I just kind of like in I guess like an improvement way. I'm like I think I was like I could do this but better. Like this needs to be done a bit better. Needs to be done a bit better. And I felt that I could do that. But then also in the fact that I am excited just to talk about it in general, it's like a perfect mix. So I was on here with my Guitar Hero microphone, using that to do it. Hey, it worked. I had like a massive sock on it with a Guitar Hero
And
microphone. You know.
the snowball was my first one. I was like, Google cheap, effective microphone for YouTube.
Hey, at least yours actually has like a name for it, like an actual a blue was is a blue one, isn't it? The blue snowball.
Yeah, it's the cheaper version of the Yeti. Yeah.
Yeah, and then look at us now. Like I have a Yeti, and it's I mean that's it's you gotta use what you can work with, and it's been great. I mean if it ain't broke, but there was just a yeah like a struggle trying to put things together and make it work, make it high quality, and that was honestly the big thing that stressed me out when I first started. Like I wanted to make them. And as you can see with the way I was stressing hard about trying to make this perfect, I always want to try to make things nice, presentable, perfect. I want to try to make it clean. But because of my circumstance with my like my Nokia phone camera and my Guitar Hero microphone, it stressed me out. But then also the fact that I was trying to make theory upon theory and bigger and bigger theories, and it just gave me extreme burnout. Which is why I was fascinated with you, because you're based, you're Joy Boy theories. Like you base a lot of what you do on theories and all sorts of breakdowns and stuff.
It's
So
tough.
yeah, it really took a toll on me.
No,
And I had to step away because it
I
was
went
really
I went
just overwhelming me.
Yeah, I went through the same experience. You know, like I told you this before we started, we're totally different. You know, and
Mm,
that's not necessarily a bad thing, but
yeah.
being a perfectionist is and on YouTube with the stress of
Mm,
needing to essentially pump out content as fast as possible, it almost doesn't work. So my strategy was actually like exactly opposite of yours. Is I stripped everything down. I literally, you know, the thing that I enjoyed was I liked talking about One Piece, and if things got in the way of that, if I felt like, look, things weren't happening the way that I wanted to, I would just take them out, which led to less edited videos, less time spent in thumbnails, and just, you know, like, but I wanted to make sure that the content of what I was actually speaking was interesting to me, and
yeah.
hopefully if it's interesting to me, it's interesting to other people as well. But that was, you know, that's pretty much the only reason why I'm still here, I would say, because the grind gets it's massive. Talk about theories, you know. I don't like repeating myself. Can you imagine, as a One Piece theorist who doesn't like repeating himself, what, you know, there's like a, when you first begin, you can talk about everything, and it's exciting because it's like, oh, people are interested in my opinion. And I can talk about this thing that I haven't talked about before. Well, 8 years later, let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you, the circumstances are not quite the same. So, you know, but I also took a break as well, just the same as you, just in a different way, where I reviewed One Piece chapters and I talked about what the current events, but I didn't make a theory video for probably 2 or 3 years. And
Yeah. Wow.
thankfully, my channel didn't die, which is a blessing in it of itself. But you know, and I spent that time writing the booms, is what happened. So,
Okay.
and figuring out how to write it as well. But yeah,
I mean, that's a really interesting thing that we can transition into as well. But yeah, yeah, because I mean, when you first start, like the big thing to really put yourself on the map in terms of this community is like, if someone just comes out with like a big theory, like something big like that, then it's like everyone's gonna get their attention and they can get attached to that. A big thing for me that I was trying to battle was for people to subscribe and follow what I do based on not just like my theories, but just based on me as a person and having fun just hearing what I have to say. And it's a really tough thing to like. Again, I'm an optimistic person, so like I'm like, oh sure, maybe like, you know, if I have fun chatting with stuff and fun chatting about theories and everything, then you know, maybe if I don't chat about a theory, then people will still want to chat, hang out with me and see my content. But it was becoming, I guess, a bit more about the content, and then that was stressing me out. Then yeah, it's a really, it is a very delicate balance, and that's why I really take a moment to sort of just thank everybody that does this kind of content, because it does take a toll. And it may seem very silly to say, oh, you know, we make sacrifices to do this sort of stuff, but I mean, like in
my
terms of
social
like,
skills.
yeah, yeah, like in terms of like, yeah, like the time that we put into it. Like there are people that do this full time. There are people that have full time jobs and try to do this like I do. And it's like you try to balance your free time, family time, relationships with like with your partner, and trying to do this. It's a and trying to make like a schedule and trying to be fresh and engaging. It's such a real, and if people really want to pursue it like I do, like as a perfectionist in a way, it can be really taxing. But that's why I really appreciate you and so many other people that are still on here doing what they do, and especially because you, and we'll transition into this I think now, are creating your own series, The Booms, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And it's really inspiring because, you know, I've chatted with you know, King Recon years ago, and I remember when he first started talking about how he wanted to create his own series, and he wanted to create a series that gave him the feeling that when he read One Piece and series like this, that was his dream. And so at this moment, I recently watched his channel update, and he was talking about how he's in the process now of like submitting it to see whether it's going to be, you know, accepted, not accepted. Like it's at that point now that he's going to pursuing his dream more and more. Like it's almost attainable. But here you are, that are now actively creating your own series, and I'm just, it's so inspirational. So I'd love to go and hear your thoughts. And you just briefly touched on it just before, saying that in your early days on YouTube you were putting this all together. So I want to hear more about where that started and how everything's come together now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're all motivated in different ways. YouTube, the reason we're here, it provides us something.
Hmm.
And my enjoyment, the reason that I did One Piece series in the first place is obviously I love the series. I love the world itself. The story is told in a way which I feel like I can take little clues, put them together, and give an experience, a surprising experience to people. Now, this can rub some people the wrong way. A criticism that I've received throughout the years is, well, the video doesn't seem to be going anywhere. But I plan it out in my mind
Hmm.
as almost like an experience that you would read.
Hmm.
Where there's a lot of fantasy books that I've read where you're following along. You don't necessarily know where it's going to go. I mean, you do to an extent, but then it comes with that doom moment at the end where all the pieces fit,
Hmm.
and that drove me for a long time of just trying to recreate that experience in every possible way using One Piece that I could. And along this same train, I, this is just kind of who I am since I was 10, reading whatever it was and trying to storycraft it in a sense, using what's somebody else, the author, has already provided me. And I knew that I wanted to try one day. I never thought I was going to be good. It was more of like a bucket list sort of thing
Yeah.
of I just want to see if I can do it. I want to try. It's a fun challenge, and aiming for that experience that I get from things that I love.
Hmm.
And so I just one day decided to do it. This is one of those things where it doesn't happen overnight. I'm thinking about writing a story for my whole life. But there's lots of ideas, and it doesn't necessarily add up into something that is anything. But I just finally was like, look, I'm going to sit down for a couple weeks and just start creating it. If I don't start it, it'll never happen.
Hmm.
And I got into it, and it was just fun. That's just how I felt about it. And I would say that I discovery wrote more than a lot of people would realize for it. It wasn't necessarily that I planned it out all the way, and that's just because that is daunting in and of itself. And my goal with YouTube and my goal with this was just to finish it, to make it. That if that doesn't happen, then it's pointless. So I just started writing, and the first things that I wrote, man, were terrible. It was total booty cheeks. It was awful. And part of that is I don't have a lot of experience writing.
Hmm.
I did English class or whatever, but I didn't go to college for it. I didn't spend my free time writing short stories. So there's a lot of things that I had to figure out as I was going, and I think that perceptive and longtime readers will be able to sense that to a degree, even after all of those edits. But it just is what it is. I don't think that it was possible for me to start and just be perfect. It was never going to happen. But as I went through the process of doing it, I didn't realize like YouTube prepared me to
Hmm.
do this. Like all of those years weren't wasted. There's subtle skills I never thought would come in handy that did. Um, and quite frankly, I think what I wrote is great. Now, is it? There's a high bar, obviously. When you talk about people in books, what books do they know of? Game of Thrones or Brandon Sanderson maybe, or like there's a very limited number. Harry Potter, and it's just because people generally only know the best of the best, and I try to make it a habit of not trying to compare myself in that way, and just make a story that I feel like is enjoyable to me. That's kind of the bar that I feel like I need to clear on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to say too much about the story because it's very mystery
Hmm.
driven. But it's just I'm so like in retrospect and during the process of it, I'm just very glad that I did it.
Yeah, it's something to be very proud of, and I was happy to hear that you have the confidence to say like, yeah, what you wrote is great. And I mean, that's the thing, is that you're writing something and you want to feel happy and passionate about it and have fun writing it. And I think something that was really neat about what you said is like, a lot of people, they really look at high quality, like great stories like as ones that have been planned from the start. And I mean, that's the big topic with One Piece, right? Like a lot of people will jump on how it's amazing how he has this whole thing planned, but like you mentioned, that's such an incredibly daunting thing to do, and to try and fill in those gaps, and it can be quite overwhelming. And kind of like how it all ties back with YouTube, because we're making our own content here on a different time, like different level. We're here trying to put together things and trying to make that work. If I try to plan everything on my channel, from day one onwards for the next couple of years, I'm going to be like overwhelmed if I don't reach those things I need to reach, like those kind of pieces to kind of make it reach the end. And that's when burnout and stress and everything happens. But you stayed true to yourself by saying that you're just letting it flow the way that you want it to. You're just letting it go along, which, you know, there's some incredible things that can happen from just letting things flow. And what I love about stories, some of these other stories, is you're reading it and it goes into a direction that you did not expect because it was just like the natural progression of where these characters go. Like you just let them go on for the ride, like with you. So I really do appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to discover that as you're going along. It's like it's almost like reading, reading a story that you would like as well. But that's not to say that it's not planned out. It just initially it wasn't, and you're in that process of as you're writing it, figuring out what is this story's voice. What is my voice really? This is probably a lot of authors wouldn't have this question because they've written a lot of things before now. They, and this was a big task for me. I think a pat on the head is really worthwhile. Having some sort of mentor figure in college or whatever it might be, a friend, just say, look, when you're younger and you're in the process of growing, like, hey, you're doing a good job, you're on the right track. And as I was writing, I felt really insecure, honestly, at first, because is this good or not? Like, I think that it's good, but is it? And how do I improve? And I kind of, for the most part, had to figure all of this out myself and try and I was thankful also to have a writing buddy as well, my good friend Andrew, who really helped as well. And he's writing his own story, and we just kind of edit each other's work, sort of thing. I think having a friend or a writing group is very important. But where we sit now, I mean, the whole story is fleshed out in my mind from beginning to end, 9 total volumes or 3 arcs. And now it's a different kind of excitement, of like I have something and I know it. And it's just a matter of converting good thoughts into a good experience.
Yeah, okay. I'm guessing when you have those 9 volumes, I'm guessing that you just have your, like you said, the funny enough, the boom moment of each of these arcs, like these conclusions to sort of set those pieces in place to kind of go to. I'm guessing that's kind of where you have things pieced together in your mind.
Yes, structurally. Yeah. Well, when I began, I intended to just write one book, and part of that is just about the challenge of it. The more criteria that you add, like if you try to do Shakespeare and write everything in iambic pentameter, you're exponentially increasing the difficulty of the challenge. So I just wanted to write one story, and I was hoping, because I'd been told as a first author, you want to write a shorter story. And that's what I intended to do, and it did not work out that way. It ended up being a big, not the biggest fantasy book that you've ever read, but over 200K words. It's pretty big. And at the same time, my father was sick, and so that ultimately created the volumes within the story. So you have one big arc, which is the first book that I had planned out, split up into 3 volumes. And afterwards, I structurally fiddled with it so that it would work as a volume and hopefully give a good experience for each one. But because I didn't plan it out initially that way, there's some drawback to that for sure. But I really wanted to get volume 1 out for my dad to read before he passed, and I was able to do that, and so I have no regrets there, and it creates a cool aesthetic that I like as well. But all this is like this process of learning that I'm going through with y'all, and the only reason I'm able to survive is I'm not afraid to make mistakes, and I make them quite frequently.
And that's something that I definitely need to learn, and not really stress myself out. But I mean, that's the thing. But what was the reception like, and what was the feeling like just having that first volume in your hands when that day came? Like, do you remember that? Like, tell me about that day. Tell me about, just like everything you felt during that.
Well, first off, I used Ingram Spark as my printer, and I think this is part of the experience as well. Is just getting something that feels good in your hands. It doesn't feel poor quality. And I did what Recon is trying to do is he's trying to go through an agent, which is the traditional publishing way. I thought with my channel that the big thing that a publisher would do for you is advertise your book. But if I had my channel, and also I wanted kind of a limited base for my book to reach initially, just so that if I do make mistakes, it's not on a grand scale. And also
Hmm.
going through an agent is not a guaranteed thing in the first place. That's a whole can of worms
Yeah.
on its own, and you're guaranteed nothing. They get, dozens of scripts per month that they
Mm.
have to weed through to figure out, what it is that they want. So I wish Recon all the best of luck there. But I
Hmm.
went self-publishing, so to actually finally get that and not really knowing what it was going to be like, the feel of it, being able to flip the pages, put it on my shelf,
Hmm.
how the colors pop in real life compared to the PNG or whatever
Hmm.
that I initially had. It's just different. um, and having people read it as well, man, that was stressful at first, of like, okay, I feel a certain way about this, but that does not mean that other people feel the same way. And I went through the process of getting betas as well. And this is just something in life that I've learned is, some people are very talented and they can appeal to everybody, but that's not my experience in life. There's certain people that really love me, there's certain people that don't. And same thing with my book, like some people really love what's going on there, some people don't. And how much to take from that? How much does it matter if there's one person that
Hmm.
drops the book? And it's very easy to sort of get stuck up in your head about that. But I kind of mentally, what I did was, look, if I'm writing something that at least one person loves, other than myself, well, I mean, even if it was myself,
Hmm.
then that's
Yeah.
reward enough. And just the same with YouTube. I didn't come with YouTube with any expectations. I didn't come with writing my
Hmm.
book with any expectations. And if I did have expectations, I tried my best to kill it with fire.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, that's and you mentioned about kind of looking past that whole thing of someone may love it, someone may hate it. Because I mean, like even for One Piece, like we hold it so highly. There are people that don't like the series, and it just goes to show that yeah, you can't you can't please everybody. But I understand that there's a lot riding on putting this is yourself. Like this is really close to you. So I imagine how incredibly difficult it must be to kind of look past that, but you've been really embracing the feedback, and I really do. It is really really inspiring, and I'm really excited to go and see the day where the full length of the story gets released, and then you can sit proud. I mean, you obviously will be sitting proud now, but just to see that this has been completed, and just to see people actually now see the full length of your vision be there in front of them. That'll be a really really exciting time. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, it just appeals in different ways. And as you start writing it, you start thinking about these things even more. And obviously, it's apparent just from a YouTuber perspective of the different shows that are out there. I mean, you have any opinion about anything ever, and you get, a dozen different perspectives, from just other people, and a lot of them already big anime or manga fans, if that's what you're talking about. So it's you and this was part of the process of like in what ways, what chords am I trying to strum with this story, and how can I consistently deliver that, and even if it ends up being niche, and maybe the booms is niche or not, I can't really tell you at this point in time, but like make sure that within that there is at least one really great experience that people, once they get to, it will definitely work, you know. So yeah.
Okay, so when's the so you have the first two volumes out? When is the I believe the third is on pre-order.
Yeah, October 4th is when the third one is out, and I'm currently in the process of writing volumes 4, 5, and 6 right now.
Okay, yeah.
So
So do you just do them back to back? Do you just like yeah you just that's right because you're doing it in the arcs. So this is the second of the arcs. So you're gonna be kind of
I
doing them
I did
all.
also I did yeah I
Mm,
did all sorts of shenanigans, man. This whole process, like there's no one size fits all.
yeah.
When I began, I literally tried to strip it down just like YouTube as much as possible. How can I make this accomplishable?
Mm-hmm.
As I'm in the process of learning how to do it. Less characters, less, like
Mm-hmm.
places they need to be. I want a certain number of perspectives, but I tried to group characters in the same place so that there's just less. It's less complicated, But at the same time, it's an epic fantasy, epic sci-fi fantasy, right? And the stakes and everything grows over time. So where we're sitting in the second arc, or volume 4, 5, and 6 now, characters are in different places.
Hmm.
They're um, there's more happening simultaneously. The story will likely grow, and it changes, my process as well of what I do with each one. But I wanted it to be that way.
Yeah.
I thought that that was the best plan for me.
Hmm. Yeah, and again, that's so like when everything you're saying I can really relate to, just because if I see myself making a book and I try to make it like huge and with lots of scenarios, that's when it becomes overwhelming. But when you strip it down, focus on the characters, flesh them out, just do what you can in that section of the story, I think it's going to be very beneficial for you. And obviously it is, because you're being able to go through this now in the way that you have. So I think that's really, really cool. And I'm really looking forward again to seeing people's reception to when volume
Yep.
3 comes out, to see that first arc be closed and what people think of it.
Yeah. The feedback has been incredible. If anybody hasn't checked it out, I would appreciate if you did. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
arrogant, but like, I try to be genuine all the time, and I'm really proud of this one. So, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see. But again, no expectations.
Yeah,
Control the
please. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, please do so. Is there a specific place that you'd like people to go and get this to get the booms?
Yeah, actually, hold on.
Yeah, if you could post it in there, that'd be great, so that people can know exactly where to go to. But I do want to say to everybody here, I didn't get the chance to say thanks to everybody watching at the start because I was panicking. Um, but it's fine. I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here. Everybody who is from Joy Boy's channel, Joy Boy's community, thank you for being here. If you're new to this stream, to this channel, every week I do a live stream chat, just like we are doing right now, with different members of the One Piece community. Just chatting about mainly One Piece, but also just everything else in between. And for today, of course, just chatting about Joy Boy's journey with the booms is a highlight for me. It's such a fascinating thing. But I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat. Dak Sake, donating 2 memberships is incredible. Thank you for your generosity, good sir. And again, everybody, if you want to go and
Shout out
ask
to
any
Dak.
question, yeah, shout out to Dak always. Dak is an incredible human. Shout out to everybody. If you want to write in the chat any questions for me and Joy Boy to answer, that'd be really cool. And then also, if you have any suggestions for anybody that you would like to see on this stream for me to interview, let me know and I'll go and reach out to them. So, yeah. I guess we should talk about another really cool piece of news, and that is the fact that Netflix One Piece has broke the curse. A season 2 has been confirmed, and season 1 was really received so well. I'd love to go and hear what your thoughts are after seeing One Piece season 1, and then what your emotions are now that the announcement has been made for season 2, and what your expectations that you would like to see going into that.
Maybe I'm a pessimist by nature, but when this was first announced, and I made videos about this just the same as everybody else, I told people just give it a shot, right? But at the same time, I thought that there were certain things that had to happen for this to work, and I laid those out. They need money. Period. You have to have a big budget for something doing One Piece. Whoever they cast has to nail these characters. The person writing it. You're being compared to Oda, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to rewrite it in a new medium. You have to rewrite it, but you're going up against, in my opinion, one of the greatest stories of our generation. Certainly a masterpiece within its own sphere, and you have to match that. That is, I didn't think it was possible, basically, and so I was going into it, and I was going to try to be fair, and I wanted everybody to give it a shot, but at no point did I ever believe. That's just the truth. And um, when I got all sorts of teasers from Artur. There's a large group
Mm-hmm.
of One Piece creators up in New York for an event that hung out and talked to the showrunners and the actors, and they saw clips of it and they were hyped about it. But Artur, Library of
Mm-hmm.
Ohara, in particular was really hyping it up on Twitter, and he did showed a picture of an event that he attended, a first screening of it, with a bunch of One Piece fans. And at the end, they all throw their hats, that their straw hats that they were given for the event. And he said it was an absolute success, and I cried, and I started to get my hopes up. I really did. And I saw the trailers, or I saw most of the trailers before then, and I was just I wasn't sure. And I
Mm-hmm.
watched those first couple episodes, man, and I cried. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not because what was actually happening is like cry worthy, but it's just following along for as long as I have, being such a fan of the story itself, wanting to see it grow, wanting to see people experience the same things that I have, um, and knowing what went into this and how improbable it was very powerful to me, quite honestly. And that's not to say that I don't have issues with the live action. I'm not saying that they're huge issues, but I'm a nitpicker,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm critical. But I watched the whole season, and I was entertained all the way through. I loved it. We could talk about the specifics of it, but I think that they did an incredible job, way beyond anything that I had ever hoped for. Um, and by the time that I finished, I kind of knew like season two is coming, and here we are.
Yeah, it's like you said, you had that that moment during episode 1, episode 2, where you were just crying, like getting teary eyed. And I mean, I relate to that. Like, there was such an emotional release seeing just the episode unfold, and just seeing scene after scene of it just being really put together, really high quality. It looked like an actual show and not just some random kind of just cash grab. It was such an awe-inspiring, incredible, and like you said, your words there, powerful experience to see. Uh it's a whole new level, like a whole new level for us fans watching this, and even for the casual viewers that are just watching this, who just look around Netflix and look for new shows. They've been receiving this very well. They've been having a good time. But for us, that's just, we had the impossible task. Like, when the Cowboy Bebop series was released, or like announced, I was like, oh, this is a surefire winner, because all the previous ones have failed. But this one, it's just like Guardians of the Galaxy, Space Pirates. Like, if you follow that kind of formula, like kind of vibe, then it'd be a no-brainer. It'd be great. And even then, they just weren't able to hit that expectation with people, and it didn't succeed. But for this, like, One Piece is the craziest series, like, to do a live action for the amount of characters that are in it, the scope of the story, how wacky everything is. And the very first video I did on this channel was how the One Piece live action was going to fail. I was very heated, and it was just like, it's incredible that they actually did pull it off with all those thoughts and emotions and doubts. But once I was hearing more about Matt Owens and the team, just going on to Reverie, going on to different, meeting different members of the community, just constantly having a comment of, just trust us, we will do this justice, it's going to be great. There was so much confidence, so much love and passion that was put into this, that gave me that optimism. But just to see it all there, and to watch through it all, it was a very powerful experience, and I'm very, very happy to see how well it's been received, and that there is a confirmation for season 2. And I'm super excited to go and see. Like you said, there are collaborations with the One Piece community that are going to be happening with season 2, and I hope it continues on, because after the success of season 1, we're going to be wanting to share this with everybody, chat with everybody. Like, the entire YouTube front has been saturated with One Piece live action content because of the excitement that we've had. I'm just excited to go and see what they do moving forward, and how they use the reception for season 1 and the excitement to deliver season 2.
Yeah, well, I think Oda being involved as well was so critical.
Mm,
Um, like I said this in the video that I made about the live action. Um, yeah, Oda cared. He cared
yeah.
a lot about this, and who can blame him? But you don't make One Piece, and you don't work at this daily for 20 years without being incredibly passionate,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and dedicated to your life's work. And I think him being there, just I honestly that might have been the difference. Of
Yeah.
just, I mean, he's one of the he's a great storyteller. Period. And just even to have that voice in the room, offering his criticisms and just generally having a perspective about the story and about his fan base, things that could change, or and he's probably a perfectionist as well.
Hmm.
This isn't good enough for me. I'm sure that that was tough on everybody making it, but at the end, this is you do it so that the people love it. So it ended up being worthwhile, from that standpoint. And it's just, I had another thought, but I lost it. Welcome to my life. But yeah. Anyway, no, but it's just incredible. Like I'm still thinking about this. Like I just made a tweet a couple of minutes ago. When I was growing up, and I'm from the United States,
Hmm.
not a single person that I knew of One Piece. Not one.
Hmm.
And if they did, they just didn't talk about it. And I was a nerd. I didn't just avoid all the kids that were reading manga. It was Bleach and it was Naruto. And I went to college and I met one singular person that knew of One Piece. And so to be able to share this story, I mean, on one hand, there's pros and cons, okay,
Hmm.
because it's a little toxic at times with a bigger fan base. I get it.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just the coolest thing in the world to see something, that you've always loved and you felt like was a little underappreciated grow. And that's what Netflix is going to do. It's a big deal. Trending number one in like 80 some odd countries simultaneously. That's incredible. Surpassing records
Hmm.
of Stranger Things. I'm gonna go to stores here, and One Piece merch is gonna be there.
Hmm.
Um, it's so cool.
Yeah, I am in the process of doing a final cut of me and my fiance doing a review for the Netflix live action, and it was very fascinating because she doesn't like watching anime or manga or anything, has no intention of watching One Piece, and so it was interesting hearing her thoughts. And for one, she really liked it. So it'd be really interesting to see people's response after that. But then the second thing is she was telling me, I got to be used to One Piece being mainstream. Because, like you said, it's going to be like One Piece merch everywhere. It used to be our own little, even though it's so big and there's a big community for it, just like in everyday conversations and with friends and family, it's just nothing that's really brought up, or it's very niche. But now it's with the success of the series, it's going to become more mainstream. Which I absolutely love, and the thought of just being with a group of friends. And I did the other day. I actually went to a wedding, and there were people that came up that I haven't met before, and I think because they saw my tattoo, or my berserk tattoo, for whatever reason, this person came up to me and said, "Hey, do you watch One Piece?" And I was like, "Wait, is there a specific reason for that?" Because I have a whole YouTube channel that is nothing but One Piece. And it was like, "Oh my god, that's crazy!" But we're just chatting about the live action, and even people who haven't seen One Piece, like, "Oh yeah, I've went and watched the live action." It's really cool to see people find out about it, and then for me, like for my fiance, just for her to like be able to see what I like really do like love about the series. And even if she doesn't watch the entire series, I mean, if they adapt the whole Netflix series like with all the seasons, I mean, that's amazing. That's probably the only way I can get her to watch all of One Piece. But I mean, if for her just to see season 1 and season 2, because she is keen to see it, and be able to understand why I like it so much, that's really everything. And honestly, it was a highlight for me because I was wearing my red hair pirate shirt, and I was just like in the kitchen just like grabbing something, and then she, because on the back of the shirt has all the pirates on it, the members of the crew, and she's like, "I know who that is, like I know Shanks." And I was like, that was the highlight of my life. I was like, "Oh my god!" She's like, "I know that, I know who that is." I'm like, that this is the greatest thing ever. She like understands, like she knows a bit about what I like. So that for me is a huge win. But I'm super excited to go and see what they do. I really am.
Yeah, well, and that's also part of the what I've been enjoying about all of this as well is seeing the reaction not of other fans like us that have been fans for a long time, but seeing reactions from people who are new. That is so exciting to me. Like your wife who's checking it out. Like I just
Yeah.
want to. It's curious to me. It's interesting to me. Like well, like how does this appeal to you? What do you like from this? Like what is your experience, and how is it maybe different from me, from the lens of knowing what happens and the manga and the differences and things like that?
Yeah, honestly, I think the biggest critiques that she made were just the production. So she didn't complain about like the characters or the way it was or anything like it. It was just, oh, the wigs were just a bit weird and they looked pretty bad. But that was what The Witcher did. When The Witcher season 1 came out, they didn't know how to do Geralt's wig, which they fixed in season 2. So it's like a lot of costume and bits and pieces they can fix up for season 2, and that was her main like big criticisms for it. So other than that, she said that she and in the video, which I really wanted to open it with this little speech that she did, but she essentially stopped and went, I really appreciate the goofiness of One Piece now. Like she understands it. And that was everything for her to understand why we like it and actually enjoy it. Yeah, it's really cool, and to hear more people who are casual viewers feel the same way is really awesome.
Well, that's what drew me to One Piece in the first place. Quite honestly, I didn't start One Piece first in my anime uh, journey, and it's just nobody talked about it, and so I understood the shonen genre generally, and swords are cool, and fights and that sort of thing. But it wasn't until I got to One Piece that I was like, you know what, this is exactly what I always wanted, just because of the goofiness alone, where I felt like Oda could do anything. He could literally do anything, and it was just fire because it was funny, and it created like the wackiest story that you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, it's such an incredible blend, and it's funny for us to kind of reflect on how One Piece is. But honestly, seeing the Netflix series made me really realize how interesting of a series it is. Like here you have super colorful, goofy characters, but then you have really violent scenes of like Zoro cutting someone in half and really tragic, dark scenes. It's such a fascinating thing to see unfold as a series, and I can't imagine somebody seeing that as a casual. It's like, what is this? like what is this? What is the tone of this series? But that's something that's just so appealing about the show, is that there's so many different feelings and themes, and like, yeah, it's such an incredible mix of genres and
It's the
themes.
whole experience,
Yeah,
you don't know that. I mean, the same conversation exists. I was kind of worried, I thought, well, what are people going to think about the live action, just because the costume designs or the character designs? But then I was like, wait a second, these same things are brought up when people watch the anime, and
yeah,
they first begin. You kind of got to select for the One Piece fans who are like patient enough to okay, this is what it is on the surface, and then over the course of the arcs as they pass, like your opinion of it, your perspective of it grows and changes, because Oda's able to hit all those notes, where you can have a character that you know he irritates you to your very core, or you can have a moment where you're just bawling your eyes out, and every emotion in between.
yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, like you said, a character that really irritates you. A big thing for my fiance was like, yeah, she's like, I hate the designs of like Helmeppo and like Kobe, and like, well, it's exactly how I brought up pictures of them and like, oh, that's exactly how they were. Okay, it's like, yeah, that's, you know, oh man,
Well, shout out to Helmeppo though. I really liked what they did with Helmeppo in
yeah,
the live action.
oh
Honestly, I
yeah.
started to think that he was cool, and I was like, wait a second, I don't remember this.
What were you now? Look, I'm a late bloomer when it comes to the Bogard hype. I didn't really think about anything with Bogard. And it was only until the Garp fight in the manga that people were like, "Oh my god, where's Bogard?" And there was a lot of slander for Bogard. So coming into this series, I'm like, "There's a lot of love for Bogard here," and like, I really did appreciate that. Was there any sort of characters during the series, like the live action, that really stood out to you and in this adaptation?
Yeah, um, I think the live action wouldn't necessarily have worked for me if it was a one for one,
Yeah,
which is that everything occurs exactly the same,
yeah,
because I liked, you know, even if the differences aren't always better, and I'm not going to say that they aren't or are, but just it can't always be the case. Um, I like the feeling of not necessarily knowing what's going to happen and seeing scenes and having different interactions. That was all really exciting for me. So did anyone stand out? I mean, yeah, Garp was way
Mm,
different.
yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I enjoyed the fact that it was different. I almost felt like the live action treated Garp more like an integral character
Yeah.
than the manga has, and that's not anything against the manga. It's just we got more time with Garp, and I feel like season one is preparing us for this journey with him leading up to Marineford and retirement. Where he's at this point, it seems like he's still excited to be a Marine and justice, and he's the hero, right? But uh, and it could change by the time we get to this part of the story in the live
Hmm.
action if we get there. But by the time you get to Marineford, it's like suddenly, is Garp as motivated as he was? And so I feel this occurring in the live action, and that excites me. Um, but you could even talk about Luffy. I don't think
Hmm.
that Luffy from the live action is exactly Luffy from the manga. He is more articulate. He feels like he's wiser, and he's like got a perspective that he wants everyone to understand. He knows something that they don't, right?
Hmm.
And he's just waiting to prove it. Is the general vibe that I got from it. But that was exciting as well. Even if it's not quite Luffy, and this was just a weird experience that I had. I got the impression of him being like a deity, which is fitting possibly with
Yeah.
where we're at with the manga right now. The example is like those the ancient myths or whatever of travelers are traveling along the road, and they encounter some old homeless man on the side who needs
Hmm.
something. He's injured
Yeah.
or is hungry, and you feed him, and you're rewarded for it because he was secretly a god.
Yeah.
And with Luffy, you get those same sort of vibes of like he's testing people around him if they're good enough to join the flock and be and achieve their dreams with him. It was just a
Yeah.
weird experience. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. It's like it's very fascinating, like you said, because of not what we know. He just has an unwavering need to like have he does not change his opinion about how he's for one he's gonna be king of the pirates, but then also just that he's a good pirate. He's gonna do the right thing. He's gonna feed people. Like he wants people to be fed, happy, free, achieve their dreams. Like there's just a constant like unwaveringness to his ideals, which like you said is very in line with like deities that like that's like their whole thing. Like they have this whole um I guess like mantra about them, and that's all Luffy is. With how we know that, like with what we know. But yeah, I think it's very fascinating, and I like this version of Luffy. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really cool, and it was really neat to see the behind the scenes videos where he, the actor went and met Oda, and him saying that yes, like you are Luffy. Like there's nobody else that could have done this. It's just yeah, like I see how he is. I'm like yeah, this is the dude. Like this is the guy. I could see him doing other things later on, like in the series. Um, it's just been really
That was
cool.
such an incredibly intelligent decision. First off, finding a person that's Luffy like naturally,
Yeah,
I imagine is not easy. So
no,
so kudos there. And I know some people that might have different opinions. I absolutely loved Anaki,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Um, but it's just tough, right? Like when you think about actors and acting in general, you think of somebody playing somebody that they're not,
yeah,
right? But I kind of think that a lot of the successful actors they get typecast in a way, um, because that's who they are. Like especially with comedy, right? Like if you
yeah.
watch um, uh, Bruce Almighty, who's the actor that played it? He's really famous.
Was that was
And
it Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey, thank you. Sorry,
Yeah,
the name escaped me. But
yeah,
you watch a Jim Carrey movie, and Jim
yeah,
Carrey is Jim Carrey
yeah,
in every movie. And it's just that Jim Carrey is incredibly entertaining. And so, I thought that was great. Is they found somebody who was Luffy-like naturally, and so when he's on the screen, he that it plays to his strengths. And I'm not trying to discredit his acting skills in general. It's just
Mhm.
like with a project like this, I felt like that was a difference maker.
Yeah, for sure. And something that you just mentioned that's really good is that you know, people just being able to be who they are. That's what I loved about this series is like all the different accents. Like I loved everybody just having their own different accent. It really played into the world being huge and people from different regions and areas of the world. But then also just people, yeah, just having their own spin. Like I loved Garp's accent. I loved everyone else's accent. I love Sanji's Manchester accent. It was so funny to hear and fun.
Yeah,
Like it was so good.
Cockney, is that what that
Yeah,
is?
yeah, it was so good. I loved it. Like I'm like that's Sanji. Like that.
I,
Um, it was really
I was
cool.
surprised he wasn't French. That was just a thought that I was occurred the whole time. I was like, man, I was so sure that Sanji was gonna come out with the French accent, but I don't know. I will say this though, that the one accent that bothered me as I was watching it was Garp. And it's not because
Okay.
I love it, the he looked like Garp first off, and I love the accent, but it's because Luffy's accent is different, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure. Actually, no, this is not a fair criticism, right? But I like the family to sort of have those feeling of, hey, we're from the same background or we're from the same area. And this is something that when you're watching the anime, reading the manga, you don't get at all. So that did kind of bother me a little bit, but it
Okay.
took some getting used to, and I know it's not fair
Yeah, I
because
know.
it can make sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just, yeah, I do understand that. Like hearing them both, it's like, well, how? Like, I don't understand. But I just loved it. I just loved how they just did their own thing and they just went with it and be themselves. I thought that was just really cool and a welcome change because you would expect a series that is so hard pressed on making it perfect. I mean, like you said, you don't want to make it one to one, but there is so much on the line in terms of making this faithful that you think that they would have the accents, like you said, the French accent for Sanji or something like that. The fact that they just let them be how they wanted to was really cool, and it made them really fall into those roles so much more naturally, which we could clearly see when watching this.
Yeah, I watched another movie recently, just randomly, Gangs of New York, and it
Okay.
was about the gangs of when New York was founded. There was a bunch of different districts or whatever, and you had immigrants from different places in the world, the Irish and yada yada or whatever. And man, I can tell you, I would rather have somebody using their real accent than faking a bad one. 1,000,000%.
Okay. I'm guessing if I search a clip up of that, I'll be able to tell right away.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Okay. All right. Do you have any expectations for season two in terms of like the big talking point from the video that Oda released was, you know, with Chopper, but with other characters too. Do you have any expectations or what you would like to see for season two?
Yeah, this is tough, man. I would hate if this project was put on my desk trying to figure out with a story with so many elements that I loved on a chapter by chapter basis, trying to figure out how to do it, but also with the knowledge that you can't do everything and you just can't. Like if you tried to fit everything in here, I mean, Anaki is going to be like 50 by the time that it finishes. So, it doesn't work. So I'm trying to think of how they can cover ground in the story in the most appealing way possible. And honestly, my opinion is not set in stone. I'm kind of just like wait and see. Like I hope, they're spending every day trying to get the most out of it, and I kind of trust them at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of hope that it goes all the way through Alabasta.
Okay.
That we begin in Logtown, and the first episode or first two episodes, you enter the Grand Line in Laboon. And then from there, it's all about Baroque works, right? So
Yep.
I feel like we need to finish that story. And we even got clues in the first season that Baroque works was a thing because Zoro fought Mister
Mm-hmm.
Seven or whoever it was.
Yep.
So yeah, it should end in Alabasta. I'm curious as to what's included and what's not. And there's like a lot of things that we don't think about. Like for instance, the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Would guess that we're not going to see Hyrule and or Hydrogen, Dorian Brogy,
Yep.
um, because it would be very difficult. I feel like, or if they do it, it could be the best freaking thing of the whole season of just seeing that, kind of like when they nailed the Sea King. So who knows? But
Yeah.
do we go to Little Garden or not? Or how do they incorporate pieces that were like great, like Mr. Prince, for instance,
Hmm.
within the story, maybe in a different way than we experienced it in the manga? So, yeah.
I mean, that the thought of season 2 starting and then just seeing glimpses of, yeah, like Dorian Broggy, like the giants and stuff, that'd be so mind blowing just to get a taste of season 1 and what this is all about, going to the Grand Line and then just seeing like, you know, like Laboon, the giants, like all this sorts of stuff. That's crazy. I can't imagine the excitement or like just, yeah, like just awe-inspiring it would be to see that. That'd be really cool. And it is crazy to actually think about now that we could be getting all the way through to Alabasta. I think that would be a nice way to end it. And I think there was like a rumor. I mean, at this point, it's all rumors, but it's just like somebody essentially broke down that having 4 episodes in Alabasta may be ideal. If it's going to be, who knows, like 8 or 10 episodes, it'd be interesting to hear what they do. But yeah, just having a bit more time to flesh it out, because I do think Arlong Park, as good as it was, I feel like having a bit more time to flesh it out would be pretty neat. But obviously, that would restricted with
It was
episodes.
fast.
It
Yeah.
was it was
I had I
fast.
had, I, I had the same experience. Like, they were in a hurry to cover content, which is
Yeah,
understandable. With
yeah.
the East Blue, it's particularly important because all of these arcs are crew members that Luffy is
Mm-hmm.
recruiting, and so you need to understand why they're being recruited, what their dreams are, their purpose, and grow to love them. But that's
Yeah.
a lot of characters, and that's a lot of arcs that you need to include. So yeah, I definitely felt like it was a bit fast, and it could actually suit the story more going forward that Oda has these massive arcs because there's I think you could just cut them easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
for pacing reasons.
Yeah, that's going to be very fascinating because like there is arcs like you mentioned that are super long. How are they going to trim it down to get just the best beats to get it through? Because you know, a lot of people tend to talk about how the manga arcs they tend to drag, or the anime arcs. So yeah, it'll be really fascinating to see how they cut it down. Which it, because we know of how long they go for, it did feel fast. But yeah, going to like Alabasta and stuff like that, it'll be really fascinating to see how it feels and how they handle it. But yeah, yeah, I'm just wondering what they're gonna do with like with Chopper. Do you have any sort of ideas about what you think it could be, or what you would like to see Chopper be portrayed?
Yeah. Well, I'm worried about that, if I'm honest. Just
Yeah,
because CGI can be so hit or miss. And they
yeah,
used CGI in the first season, and I thought it was at times very good,
mm-hmm,
and at other times not as good.
yeah,
And so to have a crew member that just probably needs to be that way always, how does that affect the budget? Or do
yeah,
they play with it? And if they play with it, am I going to like it?
mm-hmm,
Um, Yes, I would almost expect for budget reasons that what we're gonna see is we're gonna see makeup
yeah.
instead. So that will be I don't know how people will react to that, but it may they may not have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that. I mean, like when it comes to like the Fishmen, they did make up for that, and they really just handled that. So I think that maybe, yeah, for budget reasons, they would definitely, I think, do that sort of
But
route.
could
Because yeah,
could you imagine shifting forms though? I think Brainpoint would just straight up not happen. Like that they'll just eliminate Brainpoint, and then in fighting scenes maybe do some weird things with the makeup to like fluffball chopper or you know I don't know. I really don't know.
yeah,
We'll see.
yeah. We'll see how they do it, but that's, I mean, that is obviously the big talking point of discussion is how they're gonna do it. But I mean, this is how we were talking about season 1. We're like, well, how are they gonna do Luffy's Gum Gum Fruit? How are they gonna do this? How are they gonna do that? And they've managed to pull it off. So I do have hope that they're thinking that exact same thing, and especially because the video had Oda saying they're gonna need a doctor having the focal point being Chopper for the season. Then it's like, okay, they're gonna put a lot of focus on Chopper in season 2. So I'm keen to see what they do.
Yeah, if Chopper is the focus of season two, there's no way that we end at Drum Island. No way. So
No.
probably what I would expect is to take some of the beats of Drum Island and then move it into Alabasta is what I would think
Okay.
happens. So it's very different. But you get something like the cherry blossoms
Hmm.
the healing aspects of it. Maybe even Doctor Huluk within Alabasta as part of what's taking place as they fight Crocodile, so that you can get that moment with Chopper closer to the end of the season if it works out that way. But I could be talking out my ass as well, so not unusual.
Oh man. Um yeah, I'm just so keen to go and see, and I love the reception online about everybody just talking about it. It's the talking point of the entire community. And the thing is, like, this series, it's not going to come out for a good amount of time, so it's going to be just a constant stream of news and rumors and all that sort of stuff. And from what we've heard about, like you said, the
Well, we're used to it.
yeah, we yeah, we're used to that. Well, as soon as this was announced for season one, which was like, what was it like? Was it 2019, 2018? It was like so long ago that it was announced.
I,
Um,
it might have been 2017. It was a
oh
long time ago. COVID
yeah,
COVID was a problem
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah. So we're used to it, but yeah, I mean, hopefully it won't be too much longer for a season two. But I'm keen to go and see what news comes out of casting, because there've been a lot of rumors for casting. In the chat, Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm hoping for that, and a big talking point that I had with JD Legend was that for season one there was a lot of hype and excitement into seeing how season one was going to unfold and seeing these characters and seeing it just happen and see if it works. Season two, there could be a way to gain interest from casual audiences by having maybe like a high profile cast. Now it is difficult because of budget, and also there's been an opinion which is very valid about people being cast that are nobodies, or not high profile actors, to increase immersion, and also it helps with budget. So to have somebody cast that's pretty big would hurt that, but then also it could garner some interest if all of a sudden you're like, well, what, Jamie Lee Curtis is cast in season two, like what, like let's watch this, because there's actually good like really high profile actors in this. It'd be interesting to see how they do it in terms of casting for season two.
Yeah, my opinion is kind of mixed. You know,
Mm,
Game of Thrones. I didn't know anybody of
yeah.
the actors that they chose for Game of Thrones, and that was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them are big names now. I think
Yeah.
pretty much. Um, so there's a trap that I think Hollywood has fallen into of like, okay, well, the name is what we're searching for,
Mm-hmm.
and we're actually designing these movies or these shows with an A-lister in mind from the start. Like the project isn't greenlit unless you get Ryan Reynolds to sign off from the beginnings, or whoever it might be. So yeah, but I like the fact that we didn't know who these people were. Um, it also allows me to believe them to be the characters a little bit more,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because I don't associate them elsewhere. But I would say I don't play this game of like Dreamcast or whatever. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people like doing that. Of who would you like? I don't care.
Yeah.
But the one famous actor that I always thought would work was Jamie Lee Curtis
Mm-hmm.
as Dr. Graham.
Yeah.
That always made,
Yeah.
and knowing that she was such a big One Piece fan to begin with as well, it was icing on the cake. So is this
Yeah.
is this confirmed? I don't know. Is this actually confirmed, or are we still in
I
speculation
it's still
territory?
speculation, but at this point, it's like it's like it's been talked about
I
that
hope
much. It must
so.
manifest. But yeah, I mean, also the fact that the character is, I mean, it's like not a long running character. Like, I mean, she's gonna be there for a bit of time, but then that's it. So it can happen. Like, it's not like we're saying we want a high profile actor for like yeah, Zorro or somebody. It's gonna be in there for the entire time. It's like just so it definitely can happen. Like, I can see them making it work. But yeah, like that's something that just, I feel like it has to happen in terms of, yeah, just it just makes so much sense, from from the actress to the character to the fan reception. It seems like a perfect mix.
Yeah, but my hope is that this just gets more popular. I hope so.
Yeah.
I imagine the longer that it runs, like, that's just what One Piece does. Uh, it just appeals more over time, and so if it becomes more popular and they have more money to play with to perhaps select an actor that they want every so often for whatever role,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm for that as well.
Yeah.
Like on the opposite side of the spectrum, Henry Cavill as
Uh-huh.
Geralt
Yep.
was incredible, and I was very sad when
Yeah.
that didn't continue.
No, that's it really see the thing, yeah. That bothered me so much because you had that situation where it was like his dream cast. Like he constantly said like he wanted to go and play Geralt, and he really cared, and he was a high profile actor, so a lot of people on board with him, they loved it. And then it was just to do with the showrunners and people what supposedly said that they were annoyed about how much he cared about the character, was so strange. But obviously that's where the problem lied with the actors and the showrunners, where there wasn't a alignment of the vision. And that's why I feel this is done so well for this series, where the showrunners and the fans and the actors, everything, and the creator Oda is so aligned that it made it work so perfectly, and we were rewarded for that passion, for that excitement, for making this work. But yeah, like you said, like Henry Cavill, that situation really devastated me. It got my fiance into playing The Witcher. She had only exclusively, like video games wise, played The Sims. But now, and after seeing The Witcher and knowing that Henry Cavill was gonna play Geralt, like she watched it, she loved it. She's played all through every
Oh
Witcher
man.
game, finished Witcher 3 multiple times on the hardest difficulty. Like she loves it.
Wow,
Yeah, she's done so well. It was such a
bro.
fun time.
I confession.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think I finished Witcher 3. But
Okay.
that's not to say that I did
I
not put like 800 hours into it.
I finished it, but I did not finish the last DLC, which my fiance has been kicking me for. She's like, you gotta finish. I think it's like Blood and Wine. Like you gotta finish it. But I just like, yeah, I haven't gone into it. But yeah, I've only played Witcher 2 and Witcher 3, but she's played through 1, 2, 3, finished 3 multiple times.
Bro, the
She's
side
done.
quests. The side
Yeah.
quests were so good. I had to complete
Yeah.
them all. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh my gosh, life is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, yeah, oh man, it just, yeah, that's, I'm just hoping that in the future, like we have the same showrunners and people working on this to make it really just really work in the future for next seasons. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
We'll see. That's my mentality of, take it day by day,
yeah,
news by news, and see what it becomes. That's how I feel.
yeah, for sure. Um, Before we get into the last topic, which will be the latest One Piece chapter, I just want to go and say thank you to you, Joy Boy, but also to everybody in the chat. I see everyone having a great time chatting away. Some people even like giving their their recommendations for fan casting because they're into that. It's really cool. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for all your support, liking the video, and if you enjoy it anytime, this video, like it, as well as just look on the channel at previous streams that I've done with previous people. It's been really cool chatting with everyone on here, and there's gonna be plenty more to come. But when it comes to the latest One Piece chapter, 1092 and then onwards, what are your thoughts on it? And what are your expectations moving forward after this chapter?
Yeah, I meit has just been an incredible gift.
Mm-hmm.
I made it known that the end of Wano, I wasn't the biggest fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just is what it is. But leading into Egghead, from the first moment that we got here, it's been all gas, all the time. The design of the island itself, the concept of it, was incredible. And there's just Otis packed so much into this between Blackbeard and Kid and Shanks and Law and Garp and Kobe,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been incredibly exciting. But where we are now, it's just I still don't feel like I know exactly what's going to happen. We can obviously speculate, Jorbway theories,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can guess, but do I really know? No, and that's
Mm.
also like part of the fun of what's going on here. Where is Kumba going? Like I don't know.
Yeah, he just legged it out there. He just vanished. Like I don't
Egghead, I
know.
guess, or is he
Yeah,
going to the castle, or is it somewhere else entirely?
yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's also kind of like a different moment in the story now that Luffy is a Yonko, and his perception from us as fans and also other characters in the universe is different, and we're getting to sort of experience that. I mean, he's fighting an admiral, and
Yeah.
you know, roughly an equal. Like it's been 20 years, man. It's just insanely hype to me. Um, but yeah, you know, and I guess if I were to throw in like sort of one theory, since it would be on brand, you know, we learn in the last chapter at the end of the chapter that Luffy in Gear Fifth seems to activate the Iron Giant,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yep.
and you know that itself, this like something masterful Oda does is just having a moment that creates thoughts. You know, it just makes you think
Mm-hmm.
about stuff. But we know the robot activated 200 years in the past when slavery was abolished.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, if it's Gear Fifth now and 200 years in the past, was it Gear Fifth? You know, somebody awakened the Gomu Gomu no Mi in order to activate this robot, or is it some other circumstances? So the theory that I made in my reaction, which I think is really cool, it's really not fleshed out quite yet. It's just thoughts and rambling. But you know, like Luffy is concentrated joy, is he not?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the drums of liberation, like people actually hear that, and drums
Yeah.
themselves are a simple form of music. Music is associated with like celebration. I guess not entirely, you know, but you know, so I kind of wonder if the eternal flame is related to joy, just joy itself as an energy source. And so you go back 200 years in the past to the robot being activated. Well, coincidence or not, you know, it's this the same time this is occurring as slavery is abolished. I wonder what the general vibe was across the entire world, but particularly in the Red Line, um, during the Reverie, um, you know, probably celebratory, you know, joy,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you know, are we going somewhere with this? But then you have Kuma, and Kuma's doing something strange, and I just want to relate Kuma to the Iron Giant. They're both climbing the Red Line for some unknown reason. Nobody really understands
Mm-hmm.
them. Kuma's kind of lost his consciousness, so you know, did Vegapunk use Iron Giant technology when he first created the Pacifista, and as he alters Kuma's body? I kind of see Vegapunk. I mean, Vegapunk isn't a fraud, but he's borrowed a lot from the past that was more advanced than where technology is now. So, is there some sort of carryover that makes Kuma similar to the Iron Giant? But when it comes to Kuma and his sudden flip, right, just
Yeah.
out of the blue,
Mm-hmm.
he starts. Is there any joy associated with that? No, there's not that I know of, right? And the event, as far as I know, that like coincides with this is um, the destruction of Velocia, which is
Mm-hmm.
almost the exact opposite of that. And so, you know, it's just been something that's been on my mind. I'm really interested in, honestly, conversations like this helped, you know, just because I feel like discussion can lead somewhere to understanding of what the hell is going on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is very fascinating to see that in the middle of what Kuma was doing, he just went and upped out of there. I mean, he was in a very dire situation, but also it's like, yeah, where could he be going to, and like what exactly was he doing? What he was trying to achieve, and yeah, like where exactly is he heading to? And then how that directly relates to the Iron Giant. But I was so thrilled to see that Iron Giant reveal, just because I've said to a number of people on the stream, I'm like, well, what I'm looking forward to is seeing that payoff. Like there are a number of payoffs that I want to see. Like for a big payoff for me is Robin. In the sense that there's been a constant threat of trying to get Robin or trying to take Robin out. So it'd be really unusual that you have Kizaru and you have Saturn there and you have Robin there, that they wouldn't like try to take her out because they know how threatening she is. Even if they don't capture her or anything, just the thought of let's try to take her out would really make me happy, because I like that follow through on that setup. But then the Iron Giant was a big one. Like, well, they've shown this Iron Giant. I want to see a payoff for that Iron Giant, and because they're going to be leaving Egghead, it's going to happen soon. So for them to have that and it directly be tied in with Luffy, which I believe that was something that I speculated on when it first was introduced, just saying we don't know how it was powered up. And then Luffy being there, like, could it be related somehow? I was thinking, could it be like Conqueror's Haki or some sort of Haki be related to activating it, but it was the drums? Um, yeah, just seeing
Yeah,
more
they
into
have
that. Yeah,
they have the actual SFX there, which makes me
yeah,
think it's basically confirmed.
yeah.
You know,
So
but maybe not.
that's it. Yeah, yeah. It's most definitely from the SFX, like the drums doing it, but it's just like, oh man, just and then how that's gonna tie into, like you said, 200 years ago. What exactly was it that activated 200 years ago that's happening right now with Luffy's drums? Is it because of the joy? Is it because of liberation? What exactly is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so exciting to see these developments, which tie into,
But
like,
I got
200
this
years ago.
feeling, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I get this feeling something big is about to happen, something big and unexpected. That's just the general vibe that I get from all of this. That's really exciting. But talking about Robin, yeah, dude, there's so many parallels with this arc and prior arcs.
Mm-hmm.
And Oda's been pretty obvious in weaving those things in. Even we were just talking about Kuma of where is he going? Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's what he asked. Um, that's uh, that's what he asked people in the past is if you could go on vacation, where would it get? Where would you go? You know,
Mm-hmm.
but it's beyond even that. You get the Sabaody vibe
Yeah.
from this whole arc, just simply from the fact that Sentomaru and Kizuru are here. Luffy had his Rayleigh moment of I
Mm-hmm.
don't need Rayleigh to protect me against this admiral anymore, and the panel is pretty much one for one. But when I'm thinking about Sabaody, right, I'm not thinking about just winning and good vibes. And that's not to say that something catastrophic is necessarily about to happen, but I'm just curious. Like I feel tension, and if there's any tension to be had, it's with Robin,
Yeah.
because everyone is aiming for Robin. But at the same time, I'm wondering like, well, how would this work? You know, like because Robin believes in the crew, she has
Mm-hmm.
total faith in him or in them, and you know, are the fans keen for the Enies Lobby Part Two? I don't necessarily think so. So how would
Mm.
these things work?
Yeah.
And because I feel like I don't necessarily have the answer for that, I'm more excited because of that. But I do feel like something has to happen with Robin, or at least it's brought up. And you have someone
Yeah.
like Blackbeard here, um, and Katarina Devon has an incredible devil fruit,
Mm-hmm.
to allow her to be somewhere where she is not supposed to be, and sneak up, and I'm just that just kind of lingers in the back of my brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of pieces that are coming together, and like you said, there's a feeling of something big about to happen, and with the constant implications of this egghead incident, it's now becoming more and more, um, like, it's just like, the stakes are that much higher, and it's not just one singular thing that it no longer is like this egghead incident. It feels it's just like a multitude of different things where you have Saturn there, Kizaru there, Blackbeard coming in, the Iron Giant waking, Luffy in Gear 5. There's so many different variables, and also Vegapunk where he could potentially be potentially killed. There's so many things that are coming together, and it's just, yeah, I'm just so incredibly excited to see how it's all gonna just explode. Like, what exactly is it? How's it all gonna come together? What is this one incident gonna look like? And how big of a scale is this going to end up being? Because, yeah, I have that feeling too that something is gonna just kind of blow up in a big way.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, the journey continues, right?
Uh huh.
So
Yeah.
the uh, the Straw Hats, I feel like, are gonna win, even if it's you know not necessarily of their own doing. I kind of wonder if Blackbeard isn't going to play a substantial role in helping the Strats escape, and that there's like this mixed feeling that you get at the end of, hey, we won, and maybe we got Vegapunk, but our rival
Yeah.
is also here. Maybe gets a Vegapunk as well. Potentially flips this. I mean, that's what Blackbeard does. When he involves himself in an arc, a climactic arc, he gets something.
Mm-hmm.
And how would that change the stakes of the story going forward? So yeah, really excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. On that note, I believe that my camera is about to die, so I'll wrap things up. Uh, but it has been so yeah. It's been so incredibly fun to chat with you, Joy Boy. And I really do appreciate you coming on here and having a chat with me. And I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat here for interacting, asking questions, just leaving likes, comments, all that sorts of stuff, just showing your support for me and Joyboy as well. Going and you know, picking up your copy of the Booms, and offering your support and feedback is greatly appreciated from us both.
Yeah, absolutely. This was really fun. You know, I feel. Do you read Stormlight? I'm just curious. Like the Stormlight
No,
archive, do you
no,
read that at all?
no, no.
No, no, no. Okay. Okay. Anyway, you know, I I'm just a weird person, you know. So sometimes I connect with people and sometimes I don't. And this was,
Hmm.
you know, I felt like that was a good vibe this time. So I really appreciate that you had me on here and that
Hmm.
just fanboy, you know. That's
Yeah,
was great.
yeah. Again, like I wanna, you know, chat with as many people as I can, and like you said, there is kind of a bit of a fear with me reaching out to different people because I'm totally different than other people, and that's just, you know, we're all different people, surprise, surprise. But the one thing that we can really connect on is One Piece, and so with that hope, I hope that we're able to chat and have fun. And then also because I have an appreciation for what you do, there's gonna be some way I'm gonna be able to connect and just show my appreciation for you guys. So I really do appreciate you being on here, and you're more than welcome to come on here anytime. And what will be really neat is if I'm you know, when it comes a day where I can read the 3 volumes of the Booms, I'd love to have a chance to go and talk with you about my
I would
thoughts.
love
And
that.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'd love
Anytime.
that. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really cool because I'd love to go and see what the first part of your story looks like, and all this years of hard work and passion and love you've poured into your work. I want to go and see that and be able to support it.
Yeah, it just sucks that you live in Australia, man. Because let me tell you,
Yeah,
getting books to
uh-huh.
Australia is no, there's no easy
Yeah, yeah,
feat.
yeah. I feel that greatly. I really do. It's also gonna suck because like the weather here is gonna be absolutely awful. It's like actually getting to spring summer, and I'm already. Yesterday was the first day, and I was dying. My stream last night doing a chapter reaction, I was like sweating buckets at like 8 o'clock at night. I was legitimately like gonna pass out from heat stroke. It was not great. That's why I was able to get through here today because it's early in the morning. So it hasn't heated up yet, but yeah, yeah, struggles of Australia. Also, we have future sight, so that is a benefit. It didn't help the scuffness of the stream, but we got through to the end, which is what matters. Which is what matters. But okay, but with that being said, I want to say thank you to everybody. I hope you guys all have an awesome day. Take care, and we'll see you all on the next one.